These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back from their How About Them Celtics video. Sam and I are here recording on Thursday, January 4th. I just got back from Celtics practice, and one of the biggest things that happened, Brad Stevens talked to media today. Lots of talk, lots of questions about Celtics trade deadline. Trade deadline is February 8th, I believe, is the date. Celtics are currently the best team in the NBA. Lots of questions as to could they do something? Could they add an extra piece? Brad Stevens effectively, we'll get into a bunch of the details, but effectively said it's hard for us to do anything because we don't have the assets that we've had in years past, which is what everybody has been saying for the past X amount of months. Said the Grant TPE is their best method of, improvement, but also said that the player that could help them improve could already be in the building. He talked about centers. He talked about if they want something, potentially adding a bigger wing or a stronger physical wing / forward. Lots of stuff, but we can get into all of that. Lots of good stuff from Brad from practice.
It is trade season now, isn't it? It's officially here. The new year has turned, and that means the rumors are going to be dialed up, buddy. So buckle in. First thing I think that's worth addressing is that Brad was like, hey, we don't have anybody we can really trade. That was Brad saying we all know ball, or at least we all know cap, because we looked at plenty of options for trades throughout the course of the first couple months here. We found nothing. I'd imagine he has found nothing. Second thing, he mentioned that the player that they may be looking for may already be there. They're looking for a larger wing. What's going on, O'Shea Brissett? How you doing? How's the three-point shot coming along, buddy? Because he's talking about you. O'Shea Brissett, and I'll say it for the millionth time, is going to be the found money guy. He's awesome. He hustles. He plays hard. He plays good defense. He rebounds. He's athletic. And he's shooting 37% from three. Don't worry about it. The problem is he's taking like 1 3 every time he plays.
I was going to say, there's got to be a little asterisk.
Wide open 3 of all time. Was he shooting around today, Jack?
No, I didn't see him today. It was a lot of the stars that were out when I got down there today.
You should have asked him if they would take a break so he could shoot. So you could ask to see if he's shooting any better.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you. He is not a good 3-point shooter. Listen.
Not yet.
Not at all. I'm telling you, not at all. He's not a good 3-point shooter. It'd be great if he can make the open ones. Like you mentioned, he's shooting 37% right now on open threes because they're all open. Like he's not taking high volume. I like O'Shea Brissett. I mean, I talked about how I thought he probably should have got some minutes or could have got some minutes against the Thunder in that game instead of some of the double big lineups when we were talking with Jake from First to the Floor. I'm not against it. I think he could definitely be that addition for them at some point. Brad was also asked about the potential addition of a center. Bobby Kravitsky asked him, basically said he likes the guys they have. And again, there's only so much, out there that would be available that they could get. I think Bobby phrased it as, a rotation caliber center. And Brad just goes like, that's asking a lot. Like a rotation caliber center is not something that's easy to come by. He went on to talk about how he's been happy with Luke and Nemish Keita, saying he's not really surprised because that's what they kind of expected from them. I forget who it was that asked him. I think maybe it was John Krause or Brian Robb. I forget who asked him about the idea of potentially converting Nemish Keita's contract to a standard deal. Brad kind of said, like, we want to keep the flexibility going into the trade deadline. But when we signed Nemish Keita, we basically told him you're going to be in Boston a lot more than you're going to be in Maine. So it sounds like they've liked Keita from the jump, which is interesting and something to note as well. As far as trades, though, Brad, it just kept going back to like, we don't like, what do you want us to do, buddy? Like, there's nothing for us to do. Like, we have this TPE. There's only so many, so many players you can add for $6 million or less. Basically saying we're not going to trade any of the top guys. So, like, what do you want us to do from that perspective? The quote from Brad that's circulating for the most part is, I think every year around this time you're looking at, okay, how do we improve to give ourselves the best chance? There's different ways to do it. Obviously, you can improve from within. We can get better at what we do on both ends of the court, and then you can improve in free agency or trades. I'd like to see to continue to see how we can find another big wing or so that can help us. I think that could be from within. I also think we'll continue to monitor free agency and trades. But again, I think the difference between this year and maybe other years is that our tools are pretty limited from a dollar standpoint. Putting it very clearly, we don't got shit to trade. Like, what do you want from me, effectively?
Is this our comment section's D-Day? Like, they're
gonna be
he
mad.
just said he likes both the backup centers, and he also said that they have nothing to trade with.
Pretty much.
That subtle cry you just heard was everybody that watches our videos dying a little bit. Their hopes of the greatest rebounder of all time, Andre Drummond, joining the team have perished, even though nobody did specifically ask him about the greatest rebounder of all time today. Brad did not seem too enthused with some of the options out there. So it might tell you a little something about how effective Drummond actually is when you're thinking about a winning scenario or even a spot minutes scenario, because it doesn't seem like it's going to work. I mean, even like the last couple times he's had a stop, right? Stopped with the Lakers, stopped with the Nets, and he never really had consistent minutes. There's a reason for that. Those are two teams that were trying to be competitive, and he was not a part of their vision. So I don't think it would be any different if he joined the Celtics. I think the two guys they have a developed chemistry with the stars, with the core group, and there's no reason to really shake that up. I'm curious to see if they do anything, what it will be. I would guess it's going to be fill the final roster spot because there's no point in keeping it wide open. Yeah. But even the cater wrinkle to that makes that less fun because they very well could just convert him to a full-time player, and that would be fine. It would be a fine move. The only name that looms is Blake Griffin. I still wonder if that's like a doors open, buddy. If you want to come back in like February, you don't have to really spend the whole season with the team.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you got your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
I saw some speculation somewhere that, and this was completely like just an article, someone writing an idea, not like sources or anybody like having talked to anybody. And I forget where I saw it or else I'd credit, but it was something to the effect of like if the Celtics do make a trade at the deadline and they have like multiple or they have even another spot open, maybe that's okay, Blake, come on back. But I don't know about that from like in general. Another thing that I think is important to note that Brad said during talking to reporters today, he was basically asked like, are you allowed to use the TPE? Are you willing to spend? And they said they have a green light to do whatever we need to do. And then because the TPE was mentioned, he goes, that TPE, I mean, that's the really number one tool we had to add someone, but at $6.2 million, there's a small number of people. Most of those people are either on a minimum, on smaller contracts or on their rookie scale deals. And teams aren't really jumping to trade those guys, basically. They said it's a very small group of people. We're going to exhaust it. We're going to look at it. And I think it's about, okay, who can come in and have the self-awareness to add to the group and the talent to add to the group. He also stressed that there's two things that can happen when you make a trade. They can either add or they can take away. And you don't want to add somebody who's going to take away to the chemistry that this team has built. And from what Brad is saying, as far as if we really want to get down to the, speculate who they can get, he said, what was it? I want to get it correct. He said another big wing that can help us. We've talked about a million big wings that could potentially be available. We've talked about John Conchar. We've talked about Dean Wade. None of them are going to be sexy names, is the point I'm trying to make.
What about Sadiq Bey? Does he make in that TPE range?
That is another name.
Which intelligent person, and I'm not being facetious, tweeted Sadiq Bey eyeballs? It wasn't a source thing, but they were like, I like this idea. What do you guys think? And I kind of forgot about Sadiq Bey because we were all on the, hey, the Celtics are going to go get him from the Pistons, but now that he's been traded to Atlanta, everyone kind of forgot he exists because that's not the team that he's lit the Celtics up with. But I remember in the past we've talked about him, and the big drawback was he kind of needs the ball a little bit too much to be effective in what the Celtics would be asking him to do. So pump the brakes on that one. Even if they do it, it might not be as exciting as you hope. But it's not the worst thing ever. Or maybe it is. But I don't think
it's fine. Sadiq Bey's fine. Darren Hartwell of NBC Sports Boston, where I'm pulling these transcribed quotes from, he said, if a low-cost wing such as Sadiq Bey or Toronto's Otto Porter Jr. comes available, it could be Steven's chance. So, like, he does mention it there. I know Greeny tweeted about Sadiq Bey. Again, other names, $6.2 million is nothing. I'm going to keep emphasizing that. Like, Chetty Osman is a name we've said a bunch of times. Some guys in Chicago, like Torrey Craig, Javon Carter's not a big wing, but he's another guy.
Craig's not bad.
There's just not much out there, realistically speaking. Like, you want Furk and Korkmaz, buddy? Like, there's just not much going on. Chuma Okiki is another one that's all right. It's just like a matter of who's going to be willing to make a trade and who's, cheap enough to do it. Brad's going to keep an eye on it. He's kept, he's kept an eye on the trade market for the past X amount of seasons. Last year is Mike Muscala. This year, it seems less likely they make a move, even though they do have that TPE. I don't know. I trust Brad to do what he thinks is right. Maybe it's.
I think that's the ultimate take.
Yeah.
He's giving you no reason not to trust him. Even like the things that are just like whatever moves, like the Muscala thing, like it was fine. I don't think Muscala being on the team hurt them. Like Brad kind of hinted that some trades could do to your team, which I'm a big proponent of. Like you don't always have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not your turn to make moves. You just have to kind of hang out, sit back, and watch as the shams and Woj notifications trickle in for other teams. It's not always your turn.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Bay is a fine option. Craig is maybe the most interesting of all the options, but for me, it's still O'Shea. Keep practicing the threes, buddy. Your time will come.
I only like the Conchar idea because he would be a tradable salary moving forward, and that gives him a bit more flexibility to add. So that's the only thing I'll mention. But that's what Brad said about trades. I know everyone who watches this loves trades. Sorry to hurt your feelings that he likes the centers and the Celtics are comfortable with where they're at because
dude, our commenters are heated right now.
As much as we say it every pod. As much as we say it every pod. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think of the whole trade situation, et cetera, and I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Hey, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads like this one. We're doing full-length pods, game recaps, trade rumor breakdowns like this one. How about that? You don't get them that much. Film breakdowns, talking C's with Bobby Kravitsky, and we are live a half hour before every game streaming, so come hang out. If you want the audio versions of the full-length pods and game recaps, they're on Spotify and Apple. Follow us there. Leave a 5-star review. Say something nice. You can reach out to us via email if you have anything you would like to say. hbtcpod@gmail.com is the address. We read them every single time we do a show, a full-length one. You can find us on socials at AvidMCs, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's just the name of the pod. Our pregame streams are there, as well as YouTube and Twitter. Jack's Twitter is at JacksMoneNBA. Mine is at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Taco, come on. Taco.